Bids incoming for West Ham, batten down the hatches. My word, West Ham world's all hectic, crazy. You just don't know where to really begin when it comes to the West Ham world. We're in this merry-go-round of managers, of players, and what we know, whatever happens in terms of the coach, whatever happens in terms of the manager, in terms of the player, we're going to have such a big turnover of players. We've got players out of contract. We've got young players potentially not signing contracts. People maybe holding off, just waiting to see what is the future of West Ham, whether that is with David Moyes or with a new manager or new coach at the head of the table. The one thing we do know, though, is Tim Steidten is going to be in control of his department. But the other thing we probably do know as West Ham fans is batten down the hatches, because we're going to receive bids for our best players. We absolutely are. People will see an opportunity. People will see that opportunity of maybe a weakness amongst West Ham as a whole. Maybe if they see it, maybe if they don't. Potentially not qualifying for Europe, hopefully qualifying for Europe, but such a massive task to ask for. And we have real quality, and we've got game-changing players in particular. Now, I said batten down the hatches. Some of the stories or some of the players that I'm going to talk to you about, one of them in particular, we all know about. We're waiting for the impending bid from Manchester City with regards to Lucas Paquetá. Albeit he's not been playing that great recently. I suppose he needs to show some form of consistency. But I do think, even though he's not been playing that great recently, I think that we can't deny that he is a world-class player, and put him into a world-class team and he'll probably flourish even to the next level of what we don't and can't see right now. That frustrates West Ham fans, but I think that is literally the truth when it comes to that situation. We've got other players, though, fantastic players, but there's 2 or 3 that I've mentioned solely or seen in the thumbnail. And another player we need to talk about is Kudus. My word, like, what a special player, what an exciting player, what a player to get bums off the seats, what a player that can create something from nothing, what a player that shows determination and some element of consistency, considering it's only his first season in the Premier League. I think he set it alight, and I think he's a player we need to build around. And I don't doubt for a second clubs will come in, because the money is crazy in the Premier League. The money is crazy in European football. And it's going to be so vital that West Ham get this summer right, not just in terms of player recruitment, but in terms of coach and manager recruitment, because we need to keep a hold of our best players. And you know what? I think clubs in this world, in this football, in the modern era, clubs since, if you think back to like the Leicester days as such, when they won the league, for a while they learned how to sell their best players and invest that money wisely. And West Ham don't necessarily have a long history of doing that. But when it comes to some of the players we're talking about, like, I think I can get over Paquetá. I think it's maybe a decision that was a year, delayed because of the situation he's in, a bit like the Declan Rice situation. So it's inevitable that will happen, but I think I would be really devastated if we've seen the likes of Kudus and Alvarez leave, because Kudus is so vital to West Ham and our progressive style of football. And you can see him working under any type of manager. You really can. You can see him working under, he works under any type of manager, low block manager, non-low block manager, whatever. He works under any type of manager that would come his way, and he creates something from absolutely nothing. But could you imagine putting like-minded players in and around a Kudus? Like, it would be so exciting to see next season. So really hope we can keep our hands on him. But be prepared, West Ham fans, for big bids coming in for players like Kudus. It will happen. It will happen. I think we can go into the market and find, within reason, someone who's got the creativity and the ability that Paquetá has. I'm not saying he is irreplaceable. I'm not saying even Kudus is irreplaceable. I don't think anyone within reason is irreplaceable unless you're at the top elite level. But I do think we have more chance of replacing a Paquetá type player than we do with a Kudus. I really do. You get these players once in a blue moon. I feel like we've got a couple of the crop, but Kudus is different. You know, against Frankfurt, Bayer Leverkusen. Honestly, there was times in that game, even my son, Freddie, who's 8, was watching it. He said, Dad, how many players did he go around? How many players did he take on? And I was like, I know. Like, I think at one point he was taking on 8 players and he was looking up for his opposition team and looking for people to think the same way he thinks. And it wasn't there. You know Chelsea will be sniffing around. You know they need to make changes next summer. You know they need to progress as a club. And you know they're going to come and look at players like Kudus. The one benefit is West Ham have got them on big contracts. So West Ham have got and do hold the control of the situation. The situation we may find ourselves in, though, depending on the recruitment of the manager or the coach in this summer, is if it's to the player's satisfaction. And we all know players have power. Unfortunately, it's a very frustrating thing. And I'm not saying Kudus, who does seem extremely humble, would do that. But all I'm saying is you can never say never. And when it comes to Alvarez, he spoke out earlier in the season saying that he nearly signed on a dotted line going to another Premier League club. Who's to say that other club ain't going to come in? When you look at the engine that he is, El Machine in the middle of the park, phenomenal player. West Ham have signed those 2 players, for a collective 80, 90 million pounds, off the top of my head, roughly, something like that. You could easily make 200 million pounds off the 2 of those players. Easily. And depends on what Sullivan wants to do, depends on what budget West Ham are going to have for the transfer window this summer. Will depend on, don't put it past them, Sullivan selling some of our players. There's other players there that can be sold, but I just don't put it past Sullivan. I really don't. So it's vital. It's vital that West Ham keep a hold of certain players. From the 3 players in that thumbnail, I can only accept one of those 3 going. I would love, ideally, for Paqueta to stay in West Ham to build and be a flamboyant side and push forward and play great football and score loads of goals and win loads of games, you know, or at least try even harder sometimes when we've seen compared to some of the other games we've played. But it's inevitable that that's not going to happen, and I think we are going to lose minimum one of those players in that thumbnail, and that is going to probably be Paqueta. But we have to brace ourselves. We have to brace ourselves because it's going to be an interesting summer, and it's all going to relate into who we bring in as the boss. Who is going to be? Is it going to be David Moyes? Do we qualify for Europe? Is it going to be David Moyes? Does not qualifying for Europe have an impact on West Ham? Keeping players, keeping hold of players, signing new players. Is it going to be Amaron? Is it going to be someone else? Is it going to be Fonseca? Is it going to be Lopetegui? Like, who is it going to be? And whoever it is going to be, is it going to be Moyes? You know, whatever it is, they've got a rebuild on this summer. We need to bring the average age of the team down, with all due respects. We need to utilize squad. We absolutely do. And I've got one saving grace. One person that's keeping my mind focused for the summer. Obviously, we've got this season to go, but sometimes I'm saying that, and then I'm looking at the players, and I'm like, I don't even think they think about this season anymore. I think they're already thinking about the summer. But the only thing and the only person that's maybe the saving grace right now is one man and one man only, and his name is Tim Steidten. Fingers crossed he knows what West Ham need. Fingers crossed he has a plan. Fingers crossed he can implement that plan this summer, which can start a journey for us as West Ham fans, a brand new journey, and trying to take us from where we have got from. And fair play to David Moyes and the team for doing that. And there's only so much you can do, and we need to get from here now to there. We spent a few years now here, and we want next level. Patience is key. I get that. Expectations have been risen. I get that. But it's going to be so key this summer. So be prepared. Batten down the hatches. Brace for impact. We're going to have bids coming in for our star players. Who will West Ham end up with come the summer as a coach, as a manager? Who will stay? Who will go? Keep your eye on the channel for the rest of the day. You'll have loads more content coming your way. Make sure you subscribe. Come on, your hands.